Nearly every advanced device on Earth depends on one island you could drive across in an afternoon. About 92% of the world's most advanced computer chips are made in just one place, Taiwan. Not most of them, almost all of them. The processor in a new phone, the graphics chip training artificial intelligence, the silicon inside a fighter jet. The odds are overwhelming. It was etched on an island smaller than Switzerland, roughly 100 miles off the coast of China. No other place can make these chips at scale. Not the United States, not Europe, not China. If those factories stopped for a year, one major bank estimates the global economy could lose around $10 trillion. This is how a single island became the most important choke point on the planet, and why the world's largest powers are so fixated on it. To understand the choke point, start with the geography. Taiwan is an island about 240 miles long, separated from mainland China by the Taiwan Strait. At its widest, the strait runs about 110 miles across. At its narrowest, only around 80. On a clear day, from some of Taiwan's outlying islands, you can see the mainland. The island of Kinmen, governed from Taipei, sits barely 2 miles off the Chinese coast. But the real choke point isn't the water. It's what sits on the land. Nearly all of Taiwan's chip industry is packed into a thin ribbon along the island's west coast, inside a handful of science parks. The oldest, Hsinchu, alone accounts for roughly 60% of the island's semiconductor output. The maximum distance between any two of the leading company's fabs is less than a 3-hour drive. Decades of talent, suppliers, and machinery have concentrated into a strip of land you could cross in an afternoon. No one designed it this way, on purpose. It emerged, fab by fab, until the most advanced manufacturing humans have ever built came to live in one small, crowded, earthquake-prone place. Now consider what flows out of that strip of land. The company at its center, TSMC, makes chips it does not design. Its customers are the most valuable technology firms in the world: Apple, Nvidia, AMD, Qualcomm, Broadcom. They draw the blueprints. Taiwan builds them. In one recent year, Taiwan exported around $184 billion in semiconductors, close to 40% of everything the island sells abroad. These chips are tiny and astonishingly valuable, so they leave not only by slow container ship, but often by air, flown to assembly plants across Asia, and then onward into finished devices sold everywhere. And the dependence runs deeper than raw chips. The most advanced processors for artificial intelligence must be stitched together in a final step called advanced packaging, and that capacity, too, sits mostly in Taiwan. A single customer, Nvidia, has reportedly booked more than half of it through 2027. Almost every leading data center, every frontier AI model, ultimately traces back through that one bottleneck. The finished goods economy the world runs on, phones, servers, cars, begins as a wafer leaving this island. Which raises the uncomfortable question: what happens if that island stops? It doesn't take a war to find out. In April of 2024, the strongest earthquake to hit Taiwan in 25 years, magnitude 7.2, struck the east coast. The fabs are built to survive it, and most tools recovered within hours. But even so, one research firm estimated tens of thousands of wafers were scrapped in a single day. A chip factory is one of the most vibration-sensitive places on Earth. A tremor a city shrugs off can ruin a batch worth millions. Water is a quieter threat. Making chips consumes staggering amounts of it. The leading maker's southern sites can use around 100,000 tons of water a day. In 2021, Taiwan suffered its worst drought since 1964. Reservoirs fell below a fifth of capacity. Farmers were ordered to leave fields unplanted, and chip makers trucked in water to keep the lines running. Chen Troikin. Now, scale that up. If a genuine crisis closed those factories for a year, Bloomberg Economics estimates the shock could erase around $10 trillion from global output, roughly 10% of the world economy, a blow larger than the pandemic. One island, one industry, and the whole system exposed. So, who controls this choke point? The answer has two layers. The first is political. Taiwan governs itself with its own elected government, though Beijing regards the island as part of its territory and has never renounced the use of force to bring it under control. That unresolved status hangs over every factory on the coast. Analysts even have a name for Taiwan's chip dominance in this context: the Silicon Shield. The idea that the island is so essential to the world economy that no major power can afford to see its fabs destroyed. Whether that shield truly protects Taiwan is sharply debated on all sides. The second layer of control is technological, and it runs off the island entirely. Taiwan's most advanced chips cannot be made without a single machine built by one company, ASML, in the Netherlands. Its extreme ultraviolet lithography systems cost upward of $200 million each, and no one else on Earth makes them. So the choke point is really a chain, a Dutch machine, feeding a Taiwanese fab, serving American designers, assembling in China. No single country holds all of it. Everyone holds a piece, and everyone depends on the others. Because the concentration is so dangerous, the world's largest economies are now spending fortunes to escape it. The open question is whether any of it works. The United States, through its CHIPS Act, pulled TSMC into the Arizona desert, where the company is investing around $165 billion. Its first Phoenix fab began producing advanced chips for customers like Apple in 2025. Japan courted the same firm to the island of Kyushu, where a first fab began volume production in late 2024. And in Germany, TSMC broke ground near Dresden on a plant for the European auto industry, due around 2027. But look closely and the pattern is telling. The overseas fabs largely make trailing or mid-range chips. The German site targets older automotive nodes. The most advanced production and nearly all the research that creates the next generation stays in Taiwan. Supporters argue reshoring is finally diversifying the supply. Skeptics counter that the foreign fabs are years behind, far more expensive to run, and still lean on Taiwanese engineers flown in to start them. And the stakes are shared unevenly. Bloomberg's modeling suggests a Taiwan crisis could cost China roughly $2.8 trillion, and the United States about $2.5 trillion, and shrink South Korea's and Japan's economies by double digits in a single year. Everyone is trying to leave. So far, no one has actually left. Here is what all of it means, whichever way events unfold. For 30 years, the world quietly agreed to let its most critical industry pool onto a single island, because that island did the work cheaper and better than anyone else. It was an efficiency, and like most efficiencies, it hardened into a dependency without anyone deciding it should. Rebuilding that capacity elsewhere is not a matter of writing a check. It takes a decade, tens of billions of dollars, and a workforce that took Taiwan 2 generations to grow. New fabs are rising in Arizona, Japan, and Germany. But even in the most optimistic plans, the leading edge stays on the island well into the next decade. So the single thing worth watching is not any one factory or any one election. It is whether the world can build genuine redundancy before it needs it, or whether it keeps loading more of the digital economy onto one narrow strip of coastline, 100 miles from the mainland. For now, the map has not changed, and one small island still holds the world's most important factory.